You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. Welcome into Sox in the Basement, triumphantly returning now that baseball is back. Yeah, we've been giving you the 2020 simulated season. It's still actually going on, and in this show, this 30 minutes of Sox, we are going to tell you exactly how we're going to wrap all this up. But July 1st, spring training begins yet again, and on the 23rd or 24th, depends on how they work all this out, opening day happens in Major League Baseball, and for the first time in a long time, joining me right now on Sox in the Basement, my buddy of 43-some years, Dave. How are you, big guy?
I am all right, Chris. How are you today?
I'm good, and everybody's wondering why we're not down at the bar together. Here's the deal. Dave has his own business. He's getting swamped. COVID-19 messed with everybody, and he is just unable to get over here. So mark this date on your calendars right now, because I'm going to hold Dave to it. July 15th, Dave returns to the bar, and we're back to normal, okay? So we're going to have Dave back, but we've got to do a few weeks where we're doing it over the phone, and then everything will settle. Plus, I'm going to see my parents, and we're going to stay at their lake cottage for like a week before that happens, and I'm trying to stay away from people until I get through that and be responsible so the kids can hug their grandparents, and then we're going to open everything up here completely in Sox in the Basement. So, buddy, what do you think, man? I mean, baseball's coming back, and I'm going to tell you something. This is how I feel about this. Baseball is that hot girl in high school or college that I thought I had a chance with, that would string me along, that would talk with other guys, that I would hear that she went out with some other dude, and I'm like, but I thought she was into me. And then every time that she messed with me, she'd show up at my door in a tight outfit, and I'd be like, all right, cool, we'll hang out. And it'd be something like that. And right now I feel like that's what baseball is. Baseball just jilted me for the last couple of months. Baseball acted like a big giant baby, the players and the owners, and I'm going to take it back immediately because it's just so damn hot. That's how I feel right now.
Well, okay.
I mean, seriously, like, who else would you let do this to you? Would you let anybody else do to you what baseball does? I mean, in 94, baseball robbed me of the White Sox going to the World Series. And until they won in 05, there was something, and it's still great to me now, but 05 made it a little bit better. But in 94, I felt like I got robbed of a World Series because they were going, and I felt like they were going to win it. That was, I mean, they almost made it there the year before, and they were going to make it that year. They were built, they were stacked, they were rolling, and baseball robbed me of that. But I still went back, and I still loved it. And then look at what the White Sox have done over the last decade or so. I mean, we just been beaten as a fan base, and I come back each and every year, and now they go and they do this ridiculousness with the owners and the players, and in the end, what happened? They end up having to mandate a season because the players were a bunch of babies and didn't realize that was the best deal they were going to get. And I was on the owner's side right up until that moment, and I was like, wait, they didn't take the deal? They had Manfred like mandate the season, and they're actually going to get, some of them aren't even going to get paid for the rest of the year because they took such an advance at the beginning, and because they couldn't work out anything else, they're going to play for free now for 60 games because they've had that money already in their pocket in an advance. So I mean, that's what baseball is. She's like the crazy messed up, girl, and if you're a girl, it's that crazy dude, but that it's just so hot, and you just put up with it. You're like, oh, all right, fine, I'll take it back. Maybe I still got a chance. Maybe you'll love me eventually. It feels like I'm in a horrible relationship with somebody, and that's what baseball is, but I'm here, I'm in, I'm ready, I'm jumping up and down today, I got a big smile on my face because baseball's coming back.
They did what a lot of people, did during this whole COVID-19 crisis, which is, they used it as a means to try to achieve their political ends. That's everywhere, and it's too bad to see that it crept up in baseball. But I mean, obviously, baseball is a business. So I mean, and they all have the owners, the players' unions. They all have agendas that they're trying to push. So I guess in a way, it's not surprising that this whole thing turned into, for lack of a better word, a pissing match between the union, between the players' union and the owners. So not surprised at all. But you're right. I mean, dude, it's good to have baseball back because I mean, I want something to watch. I'm sick of watching the news. You know, I've watched everything I've been wanting to watch on Netflix. Everyone's like, you need to watch Tiger King during quarantine. And I'm like, no, I don't care. I don't want to watch this. You know, everyone's like, you got to watch Ozark. I watched like a couple of episodes and I'm like, yeah, no. So I'm glad that we will have something entertaining to watch. You know, so yes, I'm glad it's back. So, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to kind of talk about the details here.
Yeah,
right?
let's talk a little bit about the details, because I'm sure we both have different opinions on them. They're all coming out and things change like on a daily basis. But this seems to be at this point what's going on. First of all, it's 60 games. They report on July 1st. They're going to start playing on either the 23rd or 24th. There's going to be a regional schedule. So what they're going to do is you're going to play 40 games against your divisional foes, 10 apiece, and then 20 interleague games, which are 5 apiece against the opposing team, or actually 4 apiece, because there's 5 teams in there, 4 apiece against the other division that would be like your counterpart in the National League. So we're going to play the NL Central. Now, that means that we're going to play, and this is the first thing that bothered me about this. So I think it's kind of funny we're going to start with it because I'm just going down a list here. But this bothered me because that's not a chump division. We're going to have to go up against a team like
the NL Central.
The NL Central.
No.
We're going to play the St. Louis Cardinals. They're a team that has World Series aspirations. We're going to run into the Cubs, and I don't care if you hate the Cubs because you're a Sox fan. They're a good team. We're going to run into the Reds. They're a rebuilt team just like we are. We got to run into the Brewers. They're a good team. There's not really like a crazy slouch. We got the Tigers and the Royals to offer them. They're offering us the Pirates. They're actually a harder division than we are. That's the thing. We're playing maybe one of the toughest divisions in baseball, and they get a DH because there's going to be a universal DH, and I hate this.
That was one of the things that I saw about it, too, is that, so for those baseball purists, you are getting a universal DH this year. So they finally pulled the trigger on that. I suppose the reason for that is why now, because it's something COVID related.
Well, I think originally it was something that they wanted to offer the players because the union kept acting like we conceded on a DH. I heard them say that like a couple of weeks ago. No, you wanted it. The union's always wanted universal DH. That's like revisionist history. They've always wanted to make a spot for the older players so that they can stick around a few more years and hit. So that's all. I mean, it adds roster space. So in reality, that was something they were offering to the union for this year and next year. And because the union couldn't agree on the deal, they're only getting it this year. But I think the reason is just level things out because of the fact that we're going to do these interleague games. But here's my thing. Why do we have to do the interleague games? If you're not doing the expanded playoff format, then why not have everybody play everybody in their division 15 times? Have a true division winner that's not influenced by anything outside. Because now what you're doing is if you have a division that gets matched up with yours and you end up with an easier schedule than, let's say, the Central teams, because the Central is going to be stacked. The East is going to feel like things are stacked. The West is going to be like, guess what? Dodgers are going to kick everybody's ass, right? You're going to have, you've got a couple of West teams that are just going to beat up on everybody else in the West. And so, to me, I feel like the West is probably the weakest one out of the three. It's not going to be very even. I wanted this to be all divisional teams. I feel like baseball got too cute with the idea. And you know what? You're exposing these guys to more teams by doing this. You've added 5 more clubhouses that will come in contact with 5 other clubhouses when you could have kept everything within the divisions. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's the one thing that I just look at it and I go, why? You added exposure, and you're not going to have a true division winner. And it just seems like such an unnecessary thing. Are they doing it for TV ratings? Probably. Okay, because they want the Cubs and the Sox to play each other 4 games.
When you have, the Cubs and the Sox playing each other, that's TV ratings. It's the same sort of thing like when, the Yankees and the Mets play each other, or, the Giants and the A's, So, that's the TV ratings is definitely behind it, I think. Because you're not going to be playing this in front. I mean, we should clarify, you're not going to be playing this in front of fans.
Well, I want to get to that. I want to get to that because I got a theory here, but I want to get to that.
Okay.
But let's. I want to run through all the other things, see if there's anything that stands out to you, and then I want to get to that. Okay. So teams have to submit 60-player rosters. So there's going to be by Sunday at 3 p.m. Every team has to submit a 60-player roster.
60-player roster.
Yes, because there's going to be a taxi squad. High-risk players and others can opt out. That was the last thing they had to work out because there were some people sitting there saying, well, I might not be high risk, but what if my wife is pregnant? What if I think I'm going to be around somebody high risk? And so basically, if you don't want to play, you can opt out, all right? Transaction freeze ends this week. So you're going to be able to start doing transactions beginning Friday at noon. Between that and the 60-player submission deadline, it's possible that baseball sees trades because people are trying to set up their 60-player roster. There will be a trade deadline instead of on July 31st, on August 31st. It's about the 35-game mark of the 60-game season. So think of it this way.
Right.
You're going to be worried about, where do I go and uprooting my family in this quick 60-game thing and COVID and everything else like that. And then all of a sudden you might end up going someplace else midway through the season. There's going to be a COVID-specific inactive list, which will, if it has to do with the fact that you show symptoms or test positive, there's no set day in which you're on the injured list. You can put the guy on for 6 days and bring him off if it was COVID related. And unsigned players may be headed to Nashville. According to Jason Stark, there may be 2 rosters kept in Nashville playing against each other of free agents that teams can choose from. Now, everybody else after that is out. They're not going to be involved in Major League Baseball this year, or at least that's the way it reads. Now, I'm sure there'll be other things that are going to come out in the next 24 to 48 hours. We're recording this on Tuesday night for Wednesday morning. By the time you listen to it, I don't know. Something might have changed. But that's the basic outline of everything right there. They're going to have these taxi squads. I read something like you can bring 3 guys from your taxi squad on the plane with you to sit in the dugout as long as one of them's a catcher. Otherwise, it's 2 in case somebody comes down with symptoms and you're on the road and real quick, you're like, I got to add another guy to my roster. So there's all these little roster changes that are going to happen. But think of it this way. Michael Kopech, we talked about, are they going to manipulate service time? There's no way they can do it now. Okay. Carlos Rodon, he may be ready to go, at least in a relief role by the 24th. Right. I mean, think about this team and the prospects of it in a shortened season. If Luis Robert just shows up against pitchers that are like just coming out of spring training and haven't been working very hard and he's on point, the guy could just like explode and teams don't even have a chance to adjust to him because the season's over so quick.
They don't know his tendencies. I was just going to say, that's going to put Robert at an extreme advantage because these pitchers are not going to know how to pitch to him. He could have an amazing season this year. It could really benefit a guy like Luis Robert. And it does work out. I mean, with the fact that you're right, like now, you don't get Rodon for only half a season. I mean, he's going to be just about ready to go, right? I mean, because we were talking like, what was it going to be? It was going to be August 1st or something was when you were supposed to see Carlos Rodon. Well, that's pretty much the start of your season. So he's going to just about be on your starting, your opening day roster, don't you think?
Ashley Rodon tweeted out that she was furiously packing her stuff that earlier today before they had even made it like completely official. Like there's a woman that just can't wait to get the baseball. And her husband's probably been working his butt off, getting himself rehabbed because you can still keep doing your rehab and everything during this thing. And the guy's probably like, I can't wait to show up in spring training and throw pitches because the guy's got to be ready at this point. Like at this point, when you get to July, Rodon would have been throwing someplace and going and getting games in the minors. That's what I believe would have been happening. He would have been starting to get some work in the minors. So he's going to get that now. So think about this team. And it'll be very interesting to watch what the White Sox do here. It's a shortened season. And you can argue all about like, well, I don't want to use this guy up or I don't want to do this. But guess what? It's all hands on deck. Win the most of your 60 games and go to the postseason for the first time since 2008. I don't care. I really don't care about anybody's service time at this point or anything. At this point with a young team, an upstart team, and these guys, if it clicks, you're on your way to the postseason and anything can happen. I'm going to tell you right now, if they win the pennant, I don't care if it was a shortened season, it counts. If they win a division, I don't care if it's a shortened season, it counts. And if they win the World Series, I don't care if it's a shortened season, it freaking counts.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something, Chris. I'm glad you talk about this because you know me, my guys, man. I'm a hockey guy. I'm a Blackhawks guy, right? Nobody cares that their second Stanley Cup win happened in a shortened season. Like, they basically shortened it by not quite half, but they only played, I think, like 50, 60 games that season when normally they'd play, 82. That second Stanley Cup in 2013, that counts to me. The Blackhawks were smart. They took advantage of a shortened season with what they had. And I think you're right. If the White Sox are smart, they can come out and do the same exact thing. They can take advantage of a young team who's sitting there going, hey, why not us? And there's definitely chemistry there, and they have clubhouse leaders like Jose Abreu. He's back, Tim Anderson, who's really taking on a clubhouse leading type role. You have your starting five. You have a lot of things working for you. Why not? I agree with you.
Go for it. Everything should be on the table. Everything should be on the table. The whole talk before the season, like we don't know if Nick Madrigal is going to break camp. He should be with you. He should be playing.
Absolutely.
Okay? You know who else could be? You know who else should be on that 60-man roster and possibly on the 40-man that's available for them to play? Andrew Vaughn. Remember all the talk last year before the draft? Like, this guy could come in right now and he could hit in the major league level. Well, I want to see him hitting on the taxi squad. I want him stuck with this team all year long. I want, if this team takes off all of a sudden, or if somebody gets hurt, that they're like, just throw the kid in there. Just put him in there. What if they're in it? What if, like imagine this scenario. Imagine you jump off and you're 40 games into this 60-game schedule, and you're like, we have 20 games left, and we have a legitimate shot of winning the division and definitely getting into the postseason and having a real chance here of actually doing something magical. And Edwin Encarnacion hurts himself.
That's not without of the realm of possibility.
No, it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. And you're like, Andrew Vaughn. What if Edwin says, you know what? I'm not playing this year. I'm old. I've made my money. I don't even know this team, and I don't want to play because of the COVID thing. Put Andrew Vaughn in and let's just play. This is a short season. Let's get crazy. Let's get nuts. Foundation issues not properly handled can be costly. Family Waterproofing Solutions is owned by Ken, a veteran of the United States Marines, and his wife Maria, making them a veteran-owned business and a female-owned business that will diagnose and repair wet or leaky basements. And while they're located on the Sac side, Family Waterproofing services the entire Chicagoland area and Northwest Indiana. And now, after taking time off to ensure they can do things safely and securely for you, Family Waterproofing is back in business and doing jobs. Plus, part of the proceeds for every job that they do are donated to veteran and first responder organizations who support our frontline defenders. And currently, Sox in the Basement listeners have access to special pricing when they contact Family Waterproofing Solutions now, 708-330-4466, or visit them today at FamilyBasementWaterproofing.com. And I don't know what all the ramifications of that are, and that's why we're going to have people on smarter than us in the coming weeks. So I know for sure that next Wednesday joining us on the show is going to be Joe Binder. He is the leader over there at SoxOn35th.com. I've already locked him in. I can almost guarantee you that we'll have our good friend James Fox on before the season starts as well. And I got a few more things in the hopper that I'm trying to get set up. But Joe has been doing the whole thing where he's been writing an article after every one of the simulated games, Dave. And he's been killing it. And it's funny, we have this, I think he and I are going to miss our simulated White Sox team. I think we've fallen in love with it.
Well, the team is like, what, 42-27 or something like that?
49-32 right now after winning today's game. They won the Tuesday game in dramatic fashion. Jose Abreu hits a tying home run with 2 outs and 2 strikes on him in the bottom of the 8th inning. A line drive solo shot. They go to the 13th inning, and with 2 outs and 2 strikes on Abreu, he hits one 2 rows short of the concourse in left center field in walk-off fashion. And it was the first time all year long that I actually got to watch the animation in the simulation where, like, they meet him at the plate, they poured Gatorade on each other, they jumped all over the place, fireworks went off forever. I mean, it was just nice. And I'm screaming if you want to listen to me lose it in a fake simulation, turn on the one that is marked, it's the White Sox versus Tigers on June 23rd simulation. You don't need to listen to the whole thing. Just go to the last 10 minutes and listen to me go, God, this team is never, I'm disgusted. I'm 13 innings in the simulation. I'm like, can we just score? And I think I had just said something like, this is ridiculous. And the very next pitch, he hits one out and I lose it. Like Joe was laughing like in his response back to me. I was like, I honest to goodness, like lost my mind like it was a real baseball game. Like, and I get people that send us messages all the time, like that they sit around, they listen to the sim games. And I feel like we're all going to miss our sim White Sox, but I'm happy baseball's coming back. Before we get to anything else, I want to let everybody know that this is what we're going to do to wrap up the sim season, because I wanted to make an announcement. I worked on this today when I knew everything was going on. We're going to have simulated games as scheduled. The last game against Detroit happening tomorrow, and then the first two of the Oakland series, Friday and Saturday, because I know people sit around on the weekends, they listen to it. I can actually see more people like to put it on and listen to the games. And then on Sunday, you're going to get the first of several fast forwards, where I'm going to sit down on Sunday and I'm going to take you from June the 26th to July the 20th. And then on Tuesday the 30th, Carlos Rodon will make his debut back. We're going to bring him up and say he would have pitched in the rotation, Sox versus Cubs in Wrigley on the 21st of July. And then what we're going to do after that is you and I will get together. We'll have Joe Binder on the next day after that. There'll be a sim fast forward. The only other series I want to do is the Twins series in early September, because I feel like that they're going to be in the race at that point.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a couple of weekends just set up in case there's postseason or end of the season like dramatics. And we're going to have that, and we're going to have this whole thing wrapped up a week before opening day. So you're going to get the sim, you're going to hear what happened in all the games we weren't able to air, and then we'll have this whole thing wrapped up for you. I absolutely promise you'll have weekend games on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and you'll still be able to hear the other sim thing, to hear what was going on with the team before you got to those. So if you're following the sim season, it will all be there for you. Sox on 35th knows the plan. They're completely on board. They were like, great way to finish it. It should be a lot of fun. And in the meantime, every Wednesday, Sox in the Basement is back for its 30 minutes of Sox for fans by fans with myself and Dave, with the guest, and back and talking about the actual team, because I cannot believe that I can say this today. White Sox baseball is a month away, Dave. It's a month away.
Pretty surreal, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of like, it felt like this whole COVID thing was just like never going to end. And, you know, it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that things are starting to get back to normal, at least something that resembles normal. And having baseball back, having baseball around, being able to actually being able to watch a game on TV. I mean, you won't be able to go to a game, unfortunately, at least not yet anyway, because the plan is they're still doing this whole thing without any fans in attendance. But at least being able to watch it on TV, man, that's gonna be nice. I mean, I don't know. It may feel weird, it may feel strange, like watching baseball with nobody there. I mean, remember there was that one game where they played. It was like maybe 3-4 years ago. It was
in Baltimore. They were having riots out there. Yeah.
And they decided for safety reasons, for safety of the players and whatnot, that they were going to play it with nobody in the stands. And I mean, okay, it's Baltimore, nobody ever really goes to the games out there anyway, but still, it was just weird watching it. It was really kind of surreal.
Would you go if all of a sudden, as we neared the start of the season, if they said, we're going to let people in the ballpark? Because J.B. Pritzker, just within the last 48 hours, the day before this agreement was reached, changed phase 4 and said that stadiums can have 20% capacity. Now, people are going to lose their minds over it, because there's going to be people that are going to sit there and say, no, you can't do that. That's unsafe. You can't do that. And I'm not going to get into the back and forth with what everybody's thoughts are on COVID-19, because in my opinion, It's a very personal decision. I do not go near anybody that's at risk if I know that I've been in an at-risk situation. I make sure that I wear a mask every time I'm around anybody else, because not for my safety, but for theirs. But I also kind of feel like I'm not in that age group. I'm not that worried. I got my kids. They're not that worried. I would probably go to a game if they did it right. I mean, think about it this way. What if Major League Baseball, once things got started and they've already got the players there, and they don't want to have any hiccups there for the next couple of weeks, but what if, as they got very close to opening day or about a week or two into this, the owners pull a fast one And those that are able to put people in the stands say, we're going to fill the stands. For the safety of the players, we're not going to put anybody in the lower decks from foul pole to foul pole, but in fair territory in center field at the rate and in the upper deck, we are going to put 20% of the fans there. We're going to have, if you have row 1 in section 108, all right, well, that's a bad example because that's a strange little sliver. But let's say you have row 1 in one of the regular sections in the outfield that are just like straight across with the rows. And you go, we're going to put 6 people in row 1 on the right side of it. We're going to put 6 people in row 2 on the left side of it, so they're way far away from each other. We're going to give an entire row where we don't put anybody, and then we're going to repeat the pattern. And we're going to actually let people in, and we could put about 10,000 people inside of the place. Would you? And then we're going to have waiter service come down, and we're going to require you to wear a mask whenever you leave your seat. And violators that don't wear their mask can be ejected from the ballpark, just like all the other announcements that they do. Would you go? Because I would go.
Well, I have some thoughts about that. First of all, maybe, probably not. I'm an introvert to begin with. I don't, by and large, I don't like mass gatherings of people. You know what I mean? It gives me anxiety. But that's just me, whatever. I think the problem, Chris, that you're going to run into with something like that is that you're going to have certain ballparks that do it, and you're going to have certain ballparks that don't, and you're going to have certain ballparks that have these rules and other ballparks that have those rules. And, if the ballparks were handled anything like the way the individual states have kind of handled the coronavirus thing, and again, we're not going to get into any kind of political discussion about that, but, there have been so much inconsistencies with the way the individual states, and worse yet, different counties within the individual states have handled COVID-19. I can't really see that I can see that going south 18 different ways from Sunday, to be honest with you.
But you don't think it's possible that owners that are in states like Illinois, Jerry Reinsdorf and the Ricketts family, they don't sit there and say, you know what, we could put in 10,000 people because we're allowed to do it. And if we're able to show that we're not putting anybody near the players and we're allowed to do it, why wouldn't we take that gate? Right? I mean, and you might have players that sit there and say, well, as long as you give us a percentage of the gate to fix what was going on with our salaries, but they wouldn't even need to do that because the players didn't negotiate. So think about it this way. Think about the fight that would happen there because they can legally do it. Like, here's the thing. Legally, right now on Friday, Jerry Reinsdorf can start making plans to fill his ballpark at 20% if he wants to. Under the rules that J.B. Pritzker has made, he's allowed to do it. Just because Cincinnati can't do it, let's say, or I don't know what everybody's rules are, he can do it. So, what would prevent him from doing it? That's what I'm curious. Is there something written in MLB that says we promise no fans? Because that was never the agreement in the March thing. The March agreement was if we can't have fans, we have to negotiate otherwise. But the thing is that if they have fans and they're paying them full salary for the 60 games, there's nothing the union can say from what I read inside of this thing. So what happens now? Because Pritzker was never giving that. That's a brand new thing he just came up with in the last 48 hours. So now let's say that sinks in. Let's say that they wait a couple of weeks and they come out with an announcement after it's sunk in. What prevents them from doing it? And what if they sit there and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it to our full season ticket holders first, or we're going to play all day games because it's safer to be out in the sunshine, right? I mean, there's a million different things they can do because trust me, the owners want to get back as much money as they can. I'd be shocked if you don't have an owner, unless Major League Baseball mandates that they're not allowed to have anybody there, which is going to be tough to tell all these owners after everything that they perceive that they've gone through. I'm not going to cry foul for the owners, okay? They're all billionaires, and I don't care about their money, okay? But they perceive that they've been slighted and they're losing money. And we've talked about it before. Reinsdorf has investors that want that check at the end of the year. If you don't think that discussion's going on at least, can't we just wait a few weeks and then we're going to reach out to our season ticket holders and we're going to do this? Because my dad's a season ticket holder, and he's told me at this point, the White Sox are still saying there's still a chance to their season ticket holders. Even now.
Interesting.
So I'm telling you right now, there's nothing that says there won't be fans in that ballpark, before this season is over. Nothing says that. And I think that's the thing that everybody's missing here. If the White Sox season ticket office, if they are not conveying to their ticket holders yet that you're getting your money back or we want to apply it to next year or whatever, if they're still sitting there saying, wait, if they're still putting delays on games on, I mean, like, I don't know what the exact thing is, but I've yet to see that addressed in anything anybody said that says specifically there won't be fans in the stands.
Right.
Now, maybe that's in the thing that they agreed to on Tuesday night with the players and safety and everything else like that. But if there's any kind of loophole, if local governments are letting a certain amount of people in, you might have them sitting there saying, well, we want to let some people in now. We want to put some people, they're going to be at a big distance from the ball player, but how does somebody in the upper deck affect you? How does somebody that's in left field with that big gap affect you, the player? They don't.
I'm probably not the guy to talk to because I'm a, introvert here. I try to avoid big crowds anyway. So, even if, like, if they have it, I'll be honest with you. I will probably just kind of, I'll watch it on TV.
He's an introvert who also plays on stage, rock guitar, and jumps around in mosh pits, but he's an introvert, folks.
I don't do that stuff anymore, dude.
You used to, though.
I don't go. I haven't been to a concert in forever, and I certainly haven't been mosh pitting, in the past 10, 50, God, it's probably been the past 20 years. So, I mean.
Listen, right now on CNN, if you go into a mosh pit, you die immediately. But on Fox, if you go into a mosh pit, it actually fights the coronavirus. I don't know who to believe. Okay, that's all I can tell you.
The answer is none of the above. No, dude, because, dude, don't even get me. No,
we're not getting into it. We're not getting into it. It's a happy day. Baseball's back. That's 30 minutes of Sox, and I'm happy with what we talked about, bud. Look, next week, Joe Binder stops by. Don't forget to check out this weekend the simulated games. We'll talk more about what the schedule is for everything. It should be a fun month. I mean, we're going to have guests on Wednesdays on the regular shows. We're going to have the simulated season wrap up in a fun style where we give you some weekend baseball. You're going to get to start watching the White Sox. We're going to get some good guests coming in here. Dave returns to the bar on the 15th of July. Opening day on the 23rd or the 24th. I might be down at Cork and Kerry for opening weekend. I don't know if we're going to start in Chicago or not. I can't wait for this. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait.
You've been just locked in your house this whole time with nothing to do, trapped in the house with like a wife and 3 kids.
Yes.
You need this, man. This is you. Like, to me, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is nice. This is baseball's back. Like, this is going to be a nice distraction. You, man, but it's like, I have a big house to myself, which is right. A wife. I've got no stupid kids. You know what I mean? I've been going to work, getting out of the house. You need this, my friend. I can hear the excitement in your voice.
I'm just so excited. I'm excited for baseball. I want to see Luis Robert swing. I want to see Eloy Jimenez just come out on a tear. You know what I don't want? I don't want an 0-10 start because then I'm just going to bang my head off the bar and try to forget 2020 ever happened. All right? I'm not. Please just don't give me that. All right, because that'll kill me.
Wouldn't that be so 2020 though? If so after all this time the Sox come out and they're awful.
The Pirates and the Royals win the 2 divisions in the Central because everybody else gets off to a slow start.
Book it. You know what? Vegas just opened up. I'm gonna go to the Vegas and I'm gonna put $100 on the Pirates Royals World Series.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found. And always on soxinthebasement.com.
New challenges bring new technology. DP3 Tech has partnered with Microsoft to make things easier on you and your business. Imagine being able to get everybody together in a nice, easy, user experience friendly meeting room and being able to share whatever you want in the room with just one click. You can migrate from old legacy on-premises equipment right now to flexible, secure, work-from-home friendly cloud services. Bring your group together faster, better, easier. Find out what DP3 Tech can do for you. Contact their cloud migrations team today, 312-896-2450, or email info@dp3tech.com.